Before you do your next interview, make sure you do the following to avoid having a bad interview. In this video, I'm going to take you from having hit and miss interviews to nailing every interview you have with this 1 hour preparation technique. I'm Julian Cole, a strategy trainer at the Strategy Finishing School and a consultant to Uber, Facebook, Apple, and Disney. The biggest mistake that people make for strategy job interviews happens in the preparation. There are a couple of things that a hiring manager will be looking for from a strategist. I have a whole other video on that, but basically they're going to be looking for the following. 1, knowledge of the fundamentals of strategy. 2, experience with the key skills. 3, the right fit for the company and department. The way they test those skills are through 3 different types of questions. Once you understand the skills and the questions they ask, you can properly prepare for an interview. There are 3 types of questions that you're going to face in an interview: the icebreakers, behavioral and hypothetical, and follow-up questions. It is surprising how few people prepare for icebreakers, yet they know they're going to get these questions. This is the wrong way to answer an icebreaker. Tell me about yourself. Answering something like this: I grew up here, I went to this school, I love traveling and cooking and eating new foods, and I worked for this agency for the last 4 years. Or I started strategy at this company and then I got promoted and I moved to this company and worked on these brands, and then I became a strategy director and I worked on this. This is the wrong answer to the question. They can read most of this information in a resume, so you don't need to rehash what you have done. The majority of unmemorable candidates will introduce themselves like this. What you are trying to do is create some connection with your interviewer and make sure you're memorable. What you need to do is isolate the one skill you think they will be looking for. This is usually standing out in the job description, and you build a story of what you like outside of work that shows you have learnt that skill set too. For instance, if a strategy job is all about research, then you would be looking for an interesting thing you do outside of work that shows that skill set off too. For instance, I'm a strategist during the week and an antique bottle collector on the weekends. It's surprising how similar the 2 jobs are. With antique bottle collecting, you have to use a lot of different sources of research to find the answer. I'm reading old maps and going into books at the library, then asking other bottle collectors for the best places to dig. Or another example is, I'm a professional poker player turned strategist. Poker is very similar to strategy as you never have the full picture, and you're basing your assumptions off both qualitative and quantitative research that you're forming in real time. Behavioral questions are the most common style of questioning for job interviews. These are questions that they ask for experience with a skill set they're looking for with that role. For instance, to test collaboration, they may ask the following behavioral question: tell me a time when you had to work in a team to write the strategy. Even if you don't get behavioral questions, you always want to give a behavioral answer, showing off your experience with that skill set. So, don't just answer those soft questions of how important is collaboration to you with some waffly theory. Give them experience. So when you are preparing for the job interview, take the job description and work out what are the 5 key skills that they are looking for, e.g. teamwork, presentation skills, creativity, and fast thinking. If you want to see what a behavioral question might look like for these different skills, you can download my 1-pager that has over 100 different behavioral questions for strategy in the comments. The next step is about finding your experience in your past that lines up to these jobs. Once you've found these stories, take them through a simple case method. There are 3 main case method structures. I prefer PAR, which stands for problem, action, result. The problem is addressing the job skill point that they're looking for. For instance, let me give you an example for working under pressure. When we were working on PlayStation, the launch of the PS4, we were on a tight deadline because we had just won a last-minute pitch. We were forced to do 12 weeks worth of work in 4. When working under pressure, the secret I learned is the double T: trust and teamwork. They are what will get you through it. We even symbolize this in our workspace. We moved the whole team together where we usually sat in silos. We collapsed the departments and everyone just had each other's back. I was concepting and helping with production deadlines. The result was we had the best launch of a console yet. And I don't think we could have done this without that close collaboration. Here you can see I talk about the problem of working under pressure. My solution is all around teamwork, and I explain the actions, which was moving desks together and pitching in, and then the solution of the highest selling console launch. The other two formulas that follow the same principle are the STAR formula, which is an expansion of PAR, which is situation, task, action, result, or Google's XYZ formula. I accomplished X, measured by Y by doing Z. With all of these, it's important that you focus on what you learn from the experience. Show how your skill set has grown. The other type of questioning that you need to be ready for is the hypothetical case study. This will require you to show off your skill sets in the meeting. The two ways that I usually see is the opening moves hypothetical, which is tell me what you would do with this client brief, or critique a strategy that already exists, or make this brief better. The most important thing that you have is a strategy process that you follow. That is what they want to see, to have a clear structure and be ready to talk through that model. An example of a process is the nested strategy on a page model, which is a model I use which can apply to any account that I work on. If you're interested in learning that model, you can sign up to the free workshop in the comments. From the interviewer's perspective, this is what I think is the most important questions to ask, where someone can interrogate your answer. You just need to really have thought it through the whole case study that you will be bringing up and be able to answer any of the following types of questions. Did the rest of the team accept the first strategy? What were the biggest conflicts during the development phase? What was your role on the team? What would you have done differently if you had your time again? Was there anything that the client did that made your job tough? What mistakes did you or the team make? How did you measure success for this campaign? Who else was on the team? Were there any decisions that you didn't agree with? Do you have any questions is usually something that is not properly answered in an interview. Strategists usually just ask soft questions that they could find if they just Googled the question. For me, there are 3 types of questions I like to use in the follow-up. This information is hard to find unless you're inside the 4 walls of the company. This is how strategy is created within the company. Strategy changes from company to company. In my first agency, strategy was equal footing to the other departments. In my second agency, strategy was definitely the second rung, and it complemented creative. So understanding these different relationships is important. The smartest and most unhappy strategists I've seen are usually the ones that end up in a collaborative strategy environment who are the independent thinkers. You want to know if this is going to be the situation. You need to know what your story will be once you leave the agency. What is the tenure that you're going to leave on this company? This is thinking big picture, but you want to know this. What is the vision for the strategy department? What is the biggest challenge that they are facing? And what role does this job play in the overall narrative of the company and strategy department? Finally, this is a great question I learned which helps to show how well you did and what skill sets you might be lacking. The question is, based on everything you heard in the interview, what are the skills that I should work on to be the best employee on day one? If you spend an hour firstly refining your job description answers, then preparing your 4 PAR answers to the job description skills, and finally having your questions ready to understand the environment, the story, and your areas of growth, I can assure you, you will nail your next interview.